morning. Welcome. It's so good to be back and to see all your smiling faces and some new faces as well. For anyone who's here for the first time, in the foyer are some information packets letting you know what we are about here, so be sure to take one and read all about it. So, also on the back table, you'll find prayer request forms. We love to pray here, and so I would encourage you, if you have anything that's heavy on your heart or anything that you'd like us to celebrate with you, if you fill out one of those prayer request forms and put it in that box, Reverend Yvonne and I will pray with you and for you all week long. There's also a form back there to fill out if you would like to be added to our mailing list. And did anybody here forget to pick up one of those notebooks off the table? Because we'd be happy to, if you raise your hand, I bet you that DJ would be happy to bring you a book. Okay. That being said, I believe we have some announcements this morning. Oh, on June 19th, we're going to have Beyond All Sound, the ancient Tibetan singing bowls here with Bill Kale at 7 p.m. And if you have never experienced the singing bowls, I would invite you to join us for a fantastic experience. I got to do a gong presentation while I was in Alaska last week, and it was fantastic. So I would encourage you to attend. Meditation, I do a Zoom meditation every Wednesday evening from 7:30 to 8. And there's a little card on the back table. If you don't get our email messages that has the link in it, there's a little card on the back table that has the link in it if you'd like to pick that up. And the 28th, which is today, Dances of Universal Peace will be right here this morning, so after service. So please stay this morning and join us for Dances of Universal Peace. So right now I'd like to ask you to greet your neighbor. And when we're all seated again, we'd like to share with you a special reading for Memorial Day. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Memorial Day is celebrated in late May because that's when the flowers are likely to be blooming. General John Logan, who served in the Civil War, urged citizens to adorn the final resting place of veterans with fresh flowers.
Words cannot repay the debt that we owe these men and women. With our actions, we must strive to keep faith with them and with the vision that led them to the final sacrifice. Ronald Reagan.
No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. Ambrose, the 4th century bishop of Milan.
Peace has its victories, but it takes brave men and women to win them. Ralph Waldo Emerson.
A hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. Joseph Campbell.
Patriotism is a beautiful thing. It is well for me to love my country, but why should I love my country more than I love others? If I love my own and hate others, I then show my limitations, and my patriotism will not stand the test, even for my own. If I love my country and in the same way love all other countries, then I show the largeness of my nature. A patriotism of this kind is noble and always to be relied upon. Ralph Waldo Trine in The Tune with the Infinite. So let's just breathe that in. And now let's stand and join in a congregational song.
Spirit's wisdom fills my soul. Spirit's wisdom fills my soul. Spirit's wisdom fills my soul. The love of God is in my heart. The Spirit's healing makes me whole. The Spirit's healing makes me whole. The Spirit's healing makes me whole. The love of God is in my heart. I am one with my Creator. I am filled with a loving grace. I see God in everyone I meet. I share love with each embrace. The power within me fills my soul. The power within me fills my soul. The power within me fills my soul. The love of God is in my heart. Well, I am one with my Creator. I am filled with a loving grace. I see God in everyone I meet. I share love with each embrace. The power within me fills my soul. The power within me fills my soul. The power within me fills my soul. The love of God is in my heart. The love of God is in my heart. The love of God is in my heart.
You guys are fantastic. So now I'd like to ask you to join me in, like we do every week, in blessing our children, the children here in the center, the children within our hearts, the children of the world. We see you, who you really are, made in the image and likeness of God. We cherish you, we support you, and we love you. And so simply breathing in that powerful presence of love, let's move now into that secret place of the Most High, knowing there is only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is our life right here and right now. What I know is there is absolutely nothing outside of God. God is light and love and peace and joy. God is health and wholeness and abundance. God truly is all that there is. So as I speak my word this day, I speak my word knowing that as we move through the ensuing week, we are filled with that powerful presence of Spirit, that it shines in us and through us, and most importantly, as us. That we greet one another in light and in love and in the spirit of joy, and that we are grateful. We are grateful for the powerful presence of Spirit within all of our activities. We are grateful for the light and the love of the divine that is ours. We are grateful for our friends and for our neighbors and for our patriots. We are grateful for the opportunity that we have to come together and to share the love of the divine with one another. We simply say, thank you, God, as I release this word now to the perfect working of the perfect law, which always, always, and only says yes. Please join me in affirming, and so it is.
Well, Spirit's wisdom fills my soul. Spirit's wisdom fills my soul. Spirit's wisdom fills my soul. The love of God is in my heart. The love of God is in my heart. The love of God is in my heart.
Woo! Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So we want to thank our musicians, of course. We're so happy to have Dawn back with us today. Yeah, woo, yes. Dawn and Audie and Jamila and Red Star. How beautiful. And Samson, back on the sound. You make it all work, so thank you very much. And then, aren't we grateful? Last week I talked about our grateful heart and how when we are able to just move into that space of gratitude and recognizing in the moment that we have something to be grateful for and that we can actually expand on it, it just gets bigger, right? Well, you all have experienced a great thing this morning. Our Reverend Linda is back with us. Yay! Oh, I told her, it was very difficult for all the people you left behind because they had such a hard time knowing where my keys were, helping me with the computer, all the stuff that she does, to say nothing of what she does here. But I mean to tell you, she always keeps an eye on me, which I so appreciate. Yeah, it's really nice to have you as a friend. Thank you. Amen. Amen. So, gosh, I know I saw some faces today that I haven't seen for a while, and even new ones, and I'm so grateful. This is such a beautiful thing that we can just come in and be together and be relaxed in this place, because as it says right over our door when you walk through into the sanctuary, love is spoken here. But we speak it because we hold it in our hearts. And when we hold it in our hearts and we express it from that place of beingness, what we're doing is making room not only for everyone else who comes through the door, but for ourselves. So, because we're all part of this tapestry of life, right? We're all in this together. Yeah, so let's just take a breath and be able to experience that feeling of oneness in this moment. Let's just take a breath and right where you are, everything is absolutely in place. For we know that God is everywhere present. God is for us, God is through us, God is in us. God is all that we are. We're a tiny piece of God, but God is all that we are. And so if there's been a film on the window of who we thought we are or who others have thought we are, then let us just see through the film. Let us see through the curtain to our self-divine and make that claim in this moment. And so in your heart of hearts, I invite you to say, I know that I am self-divine. And take another breath and say it again. I know that I am self-divine. And on the third breath, say, I accept and embody this truth. I accept and embody this truth. And allowing the breath of God to move in and through you, let us begin with that idea in mind. Everyone here, I can hear what you're thinking, just so you know. Everyone here had the opportunity online and in the presence here to recognize the divine self. So if you haven't, you're just still sitting there with it, don't worry. We are enough love to hold you up until you discover it for yourselves. Don't worry. Just be open. You can even resist a little bit if you want. Our love is great, and our love is powerful, and love is healing. So we're here for you. We're here for each other. We come into this place and we stand under the shelter of each other. And we provide the shelter for each other. So that just about sums it up. We are here in this life doing this together. Whether we recognize each other as part of the divine is of no consequence of truth. It's of no consequence to truth. It's just a consequence of how we live our human experience. We cannot and we have never been able to and will never be able to change truth. Truth is truth. God is truth. God's goodness is truth. And God created us out of itself. And so all that we are, every little bit of us, whether we're satisfied or not, whether we're excited about what we are or not, whether we're ashamed of what we've been or not, it doesn't matter. We're all God's stuff. And that's how God accepts us, receives us, and knows us as its creation, as its whole creation, whole and holy creation. So I hope that just kind of frees you up if you had any stuff, gunk hanging on. You know, the old stuff that we always carry around, some of us more than others, the old stuff. And some of it might be pretty fresh stuff. Even if it was yesterday's stuff, remember this. This is now. That's the power of life. Now is a new moment. This new moment is the new life now. And that's what I want to talk about, our superpowers. Grateful heart is a superpower. I talked about that last week. Man, when we are into that attitude of gratitude, when we can move into that place of just being grateful, when we can put down all the stuff that we found around us, whether it's good or bad or whatever it is, if we can just be available to the moment, we will find that we can activate the gratitude within us just by taking a breath. Whoa. Slow down. Whoa, be present. Whoa, start anew. It's that simple. But we have to ease ourselves into permission to do that sometimes. We're not always that gracious with ourselves. We have that moment of gratitude, and then, or we have that moment of gratitude, but, you know, that's just how we do life as human beings. And we evolve and we learn what works for us. And as we're evolving, as we use the tools we have taken on, those tools, we will use them forever if they are a belief within us. And if we just are considering to use it as a tool, then what we need is experience. And that's the whole idea of bringing forth the idea of gratitude as a superpower. We want to have so much experience in gratitude that it becomes habitual to us, that we don't even have to find something to be grateful for. We are coming from the grateful heart. We've had enough good things that we can feel, that we have felt, that we can remember, that we can touch into, and that get triggered by other good things. That's one of the blessings of sharing our good. You know that. You know that. We share our good at the end of service, and doesn't it often touch something? Oh, yeah, I had a similar experience. Oh, yeah, I heard of something like that. And it's usually really good stuff. It's good stuff. So that's an attitude of gratitude that we can name and identify it as. I saw a little quote, Linda, and I might not have it correctly. It's so Linda, though. I just love this little quote. It said something like this. I'm going to paraphrase it. A plant with a flower, a plant with a bloom, is a flower if we call it beautiful. A plant with a bloom can be a weed if we call it ugly. You see, it's about, you get what I'm saying. It's about the label we put on something, isn't it? The label. So we want to be able to, if we're not coming from that place of gratitude habitually, or it's just an automatic response from us, then we want to have those experiences that will help us build up to that point of it being a natural and a normal thing for us to bring ourselves into, because we feel better, and our actions and our words are always, I believe, softer, kinder. We've given consideration. When we're coming out of an attitude of gratitude, we have a higher base to continue from. If we really embrace this idea of the gratitude as a superpower. And in order to do that, we have to grasp the meaning and the significance of our direct relationship to something that is greater than we are, and at the same time is all that we are. Something that's greater than we are, spirit, but is all that we are. We are total spirit. That's all of us, except my neighbor. Just kidding you. Seeing if you're paying attention. Yeah, we're all created out of itself, so we're all spirit. So if we can grasp the significance and the meaning that that's what we are, then we are able to, and we should recognize that we have superpowers. And the superpowers we have, we're not getting from that red cape. We're not getting from that book we read last week. We're getting them from within. Remember, all of our work comes from within. All of our change comes from within. And we're always often affected by what's out here. And it stimulates us. You know, I was just telling Linda today that often when someone gives me information, especially about something I'm not familiar with, I don't necessarily hold on to it. I might listen, but I don't hold on to it. But when I hear it again and it has relevance in my life, man, do I hold on to it. You see, we get to choose. We're so discerning about what we want to be, what we want to welcome into our lives. But when it comes to, my son told me that 2 years ago, gave me information about something, and then my daughter told me about it Sunday, and man, I was on it Sunday because I already had been thinking about, my son said, I told you that 2 years ago. Yeah, you did, and I appreciate that, but it didn't have any relevance to me. I haven't experienced the capacity to just build up all this information, all this wisdom, or all this stuff. I just have this very small container. And I know that, but I know that it's all out there. But I myself just keep a bunch of stuff together. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff for me. So today I want to talk about and include the grateful heart as a superpower, but listening as a superpower. Listening. So set up straight. No, just kidding. Remember when we were told that? Set up straight and pay attention, put that pencil down, that kind of thing from school. Yeah, I want to talk about it because it is a superpower. And the first thing, what's some of the first things we think about when somebody says, we need to do more listening or listen better? It's like, oh, Lord, now I'm going to have to listen to that. No, we want to look at it as a grace and a power within us that is going to create, for instance, it's going to create a greater space for us to experience life. The more we use the superpower of listening in a way that honors ourselves and others and the world, will just enhance everything we experience. It's like it's a flow, it goes out. So, but it requires us to look at the concepts we hold. It looks about ourselves, about the world in general, and about our relationship to Spirit. Yeah, it requires us to really go within and you want to consider this. You might not have the same consideration for going to the store and buying 2 loaves of bread and a gallon of milk as you would for going out and buying that new vehicle. This is a vehicle that is super powerful to use in our lives. This is superpower. So we want to look at this. When we know our direct and intimate relationship with God the Creator, then we will respond to life accordingly. It's like having that new vehicle that you don't have to worry about the brakes, you don't have to worry about the gas line, you don't have to worry about the headlights. You know what I'm saying? You've got something that is always dependable when we know what our relationship with God or Spirit is. It's dependable. Spirit is always there for us. We're not always there to know and recognize Spirit, but Spirit never leaves us alone. We're the ones who off this way and off that way and abandon ourselves in the process. So we want to come back in to knowing and claiming this intimate relationship with God. We want to get so intimate with God, with a Spirit, with a higher power that we can cry to it, that we can laugh with it, that we can use our own language, that we can bring our joys as well as our challenges to it, that it becomes so intimate there is nothing that we can't share and expect from it. Now let's breathe into that. Nothing that we can't share or expect from Spirit. But we all know that the God that we have is the God that we believe in. So if we believe that God punishes, we will get that punishment in our lives because we'll expect that in whatever way. We'll call it whatever. But when we recognize that we have this relationship with the infinite that intends us to only experience life the way we choose, not the way Spirit chooses, because Spirit gave us everything we need to experience life, but the way we choose to, that's up to us. So in listening, in talking about listening as a superpower, we know we hear stuff we don't want to hear. They open their mouth and man, you don't want to hear that. It's aggravating. It's disappointing sometimes. We absolutely know that what we're hearing is not true. There's all of that. There's all of that. But when we have developed this idea that we will listen, we also develop and use our discernment too of what we're going to listen to. But we don't turn things off, our listening skill off, because we don't agree with people if we have the intention to live a fuller life. Because you know what happens when we listen to people? Often, if we're willing, we can learn something. Learn more than we knew, whether it's just learning about the person and who they are. And as we open ourselves to listen, we're developing a better relationship with that person. We're not only learning about them, but we're developing a greater relationship with them because we are listening to their thoughts, and they can trust us, so there's trust involved. Oh my goodness. And what happens next after, if you feel like you can trust somebody, there's an inclusion both ways. You know, when we're opening up and we're listening to what the person is sharing, and we might even go so far as to not interrupt. Not try to finish their sentences. Not jump in. Oh, well, I know. I've had that experience. I've been there before. Have you tried this? All of those things. Some of us do habitually. You know, it's just because we're thinking instead of listening. It doesn't mean that what we might want to share isn't important, but that's not the focus there. The focus would be to listen, to include them into that area of now that you're in, into that space of now, into that energy of now, of respect and presence. So I can hear you. And if I really don't understand what you're saying, I'll wait till you finish that sentence and ask for clarification, a little clarification. I so appreciate that when someone asks for clarification. And I'm often surprised because I think I've been so clear. But I learned something. I learned something very clear, very dear to me, is in the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned that I have a son and daughter who live here in town, and I learned that we all speak a different language. It resembles English, totally different language. So you know what happens is when we didn't ask for clarification or allow the space that was respectful, and when we just assumed we understood, we had a lot of reactions and misunderstandings. And from that, I learned, oh my goodness, when she says, oh, here's a perfect one, trowel. Y'all know what a trowel is, right? Well, my grandpa used to do cement work, and he used a trowel, right? Well, my daughter says, oh, I thought that was a gardening tool. Shoot, I don't know. But when she asked for a trowel, I was looking for that. I was thinking of the flat one with the handle on top. Yeah, I see someone, thank you for that affirmation. He knows what I'm talking about, a trowel. And she was looking for, I don't know, I'm not a gardener, something you dig with, you know what I'm saying. So that's just a simple thing, but it's very common. It's very common. And if we aren't present to listen to the person, then we're missing something. We can go deeper in our relationships, and we will. The more we have, the clearer our communication is, the more we respect ourselves and the other to speak freely, because that happens when we allow that person to finish their sentences, to give their thoughts. And you know what else is an absolute gift when you're listening? Silence. Silence. Because if you're a processor like I am, sometimes the silence is there as I'm thinking of, oh, it's the pause. It's the pause. But some of us feel the need to fill in the pause and hope to God they take one so we can jump in and give our whatever that we have within us to give. Please know that we enrich our lives as well as theirs. That's why it's our superpower to listen to others. We enhance our own lives in doing that. It's just another way of looking at it. So what I did was, never mind. I want to talk to you a little bit about a book that Julia Cameron wrote. She wrote The Artist's Way, but she also has a new book. Well, it's fairly new. It's a few years old. It's called The Listening Path. And she wrote it because when she did this interview with Forbes, she said she wrote it because she realized we were coming out of this period of profound solitude. You know, after the COVID big thing, you know, we were all so isolated and stuff. So she wrote wrote this book, and what she has in it is, she said she wanted us to remember our connection to God, to awaken to our God potential that's within us, because we get constricted when we're isolated and fearful and unsure of what's coming up, right? We can be constricted, and the more constricted we get, I believe the more the thoughts become negative. They're not as life-affirming when we get constricted. And so she wrote this beautiful book, and she said there was 4 things to look at specifically, and one of them was listening to others, which I've really talked about, listening to others so that we can, so that we can hear what they are saying. And then we can also, there's a beautiful opportunity that they will start on one thing, and when we allow this space, and it'll happen to us too, it'll happen to us, but when we allow this space for them, something altogether different or expanded may come up. So instead of when we see someone and you say, "How are you today?" and they say, "Oh, I'm just fine." When we allow the time and the space to listen, we might say something like, "So nice to see you today. How have you been?" You know, and if you have the time and you are inclined to listen, they might tell you, "Oh, I've been just fine, but I had this real concern for my neighbor," whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? They'll know that space because they'll know whether you're present to them or not. Don't we always know when people are present to us? 5 of us sitting at the table and 4 people have their cell phones right beside us. I had to get up and walk away, because I have this little naughtiness in me that would knock the phones off the table if I'd stayed much longer. Yeah. Now, so all it took was a little communication, you know, but it's so natural for us to communicate by text and by all the ways we do it. I call this lady, she sends me text. I call several people, but one lady I call, and she sent me text, and I had to call her up, and I said, "You know, I'd really love to text you, but I just can't. I have to talk." And she was so grateful. She said, "Thank you so much. It's so unusual to have the conversation that we were going to have over the phone rather than by text." I don't get anything from text, except when my daughter sends me lovey things, you know, hearts and stuff, people who do that. I love that, but I still want to hear the voice. Do you have a moment? I always ask people when I call them, "Do you have a moment?" Because I want to talk. And then I go on for 4 or 5 minutes, at least. I need that. I know that about myself. And when I know it about myself, do I recognize that in others? That's on me. That's my job for myself, to go within, and do I allow others the time, the attention of now to be with them? Well, that's my intention, of course. So she says, be aware of your environment too. Not only listen to others, but if you go outside, be aware of your environment. I want to tell you about the most beautiful gift I got. As I was thinking about my environment, I have a swing, and I have a backyard that has wild things that go through it. Animals, not people, just animals that go through it. And because I've been thinking and trying to apply the grateful heart and the listening superpower of listening. I'm listening to all these birds in my yard, and I used to have this app that was dial 333, which is a friend of mine, and she would tell me it wasn't an app really, it was just I'd call my friend and I'd identify the bird, and she'd tell me what bird I was hearing. And now, just last week, I found this app I got from, I forget where I got it from. Anyway, all you have to do is turn your phone on, take it outside, and when the bird sings, it'll identify it. My daughter installed it on my phone. Excuse me. So I believe that was something I got out of gratitude. Gratitude, not for my friend who would always do it. I was always grateful for that, but a deeper gratitude. Because the gratitude was in the moment. I might need water, please. And I'll conclude my talk today with an experience of listening. That's always a sign I should be done. Reverend Linda and I had an experience this morning of 4 little boys on skateboards in our parking lot and going down our ramp. And it was really frightening because these kids are like 4 and under. So we went out there once, and Linda, was very kind and told them the dangers of being out there and stuff. And so they left for about 60 seconds, as long as it took us to get back in the church, shut the door, and hear those 4 boys. Now, there's something about the adventure of going down that ramp, handicap ramp, and, they're out there. So we go out there again, and I tell them, this is really dangerous. And you guys you all can't be here. This little guy about this high, he's standing in front of me. I think I can take him. No, just kidding. I'm thinking, he's present. And he asks me then, he says, well, could we do it later? So he started a conversation. Linda and I just stood there in the silence while he stood there looking at me. And he asked at least 4 or 5 questions, and it was so beautiful because he was trying to figure out when would be a good time. When there are no vehicles in here. Well, does that include trucks? Yep, includes the trucks. So we had this conversation because we listened. It has been my experience as a mother. Fortunately, I'm not raising children anymore because it was, you listen to me. I probably did very listening to them. Very, very little listening. But you know what? There's always someone. It's never about, I made this mistake and I'll never get over it. It's about, I made that mistake and I won't do it again, because there'll always be tons of opportunities for us to be kind to someone else, to be generous with someone else, to be loving, to be unguarded, to be gracious, to whatever we feel our mistakes might have been. They don't need to hold us down. They can just be the springboard for us to be the blessed higher consciousness of God that we are. So if you're still listening, let's move into prayer, please. Yeah. And I know it's a two-way street, the street to the heaven within. And it is paved with gold, the golden glow of love, of forgiveness, of generosity, of righteous knowing. And the righteous knowing within us that we are the sons and daughters of the living God, that we are created in its image, out of its goodness, and therefore we have within us the superpowers of being able to be grateful. From that grateful heart, we express to the world. The superpower of listening, not only to others, but to ourselves, going within and listening to ourselves, because we will be given what we need through intuition, through hunches, whatever it is. We have that within us to support us and to guide us, because we have the living Spirit in us, outside of us, around us, for us, everywhere present. So taking a breath and leaning into that, let us know that as we move forward into this week, we just are about expressing That's what we're about. We are about expressing our superpower of love, listening, grateful heart, generosity, forgiveness, all of it, and first to ourselves and then to the world. So thank you, God. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for all that we are and all that we are remembering that we are, that we may share with the world as a blessing to the world. And for this I give thanks. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. So, I'll tell him right after we close. I don't want to do it over.
Oh, okay.
Are we still on? Mute me, please. Mute me.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see. There is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There's only love. There is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
Beautiful as always. Thank you so much for your gifts. Thank you. So we'd like at this time to thank those folks online who joined us. We appreciate you. If you care to support us, you can go to our website and there's a donate button there. That being said, we love you and we thank you for joining us today. So before we do the collection, okay.